Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You're watching World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar.
And I'm Diksha Bisla, and coming up on the show today, the US and Iran are reportedly close to a tentative deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and restart nuclear talks, though President Donald Trump has yet to approve it. And even as negotiations continue, tensions remain high after Iran reportedly fired a ballistic missile towards Kuwait that US forces intercepted. When I get you all the details on the show today, stay tuned.
Well, also on the show from West Asia, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he has directed country's military to expand its control over the Gaza Strip to 70%. Of course, we'll get you all the details on that as well. Let's begin with the headlines.
Russian drone enters Romanian airspace and strikes an apartment building near the city of Galati, causing a fire. Defense Ministry says drone crossed from nearby attacks on Ukraine and crashed on the building's roof. 2 people are injured.
Major fire breaks out at an apartment complex in the United States, Dallas, after a natural gas explosion. Nearly 100 firefighters respond, battling heavy flames and smoke as one building collapses and crews search for possible victims.
Iranian state TV claims that US aircraft destroyed near Jam in Bushehr province, citing local governor. But US military denies the report, with Central Command saying no US aircraft has been shot down and all US air assets are fully accounted for.
They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards because we've defeated them militarily.
Donald Trump says the U.S. holds strong leverage in negotiations with Iran. In a Fox News interview, the U.S. president adds that his administration is ready to escalate if diplomacy does not produce results.
UN adds Israeli and Russian security forces to its blacklist of parties credibly accused of sexual violence in conflict. Annual list covers groups in multiple conflict zones and follows prior warnings from UN chief about the possible inclusion.
Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado says she is ready to negotiate a democratic transition in Venezuela following the ouster of Maduro. Calls for U.S.-backed negotiation to ensure a free and fair presidential election.
WHO chief says Ebola outbreak in the DRC can be stopped as he lands in Kinshasa. Also says that UN Health Agency, it does not support travel bans, arguing they are not effective in controlling the outbreak.
Anthropic has become Silicon Valley's most valuable AI company after raising fresh funding at a nearly $1 trillion valuation. The AI startup behind Claude also reported surging revenue growth as the race towards blockbuster AI IPOs heats up.
Lionel Messi will captain Argentina national football team at World Cup. Coach Lionel Scaloni announces while naming a 26-man squad that excludes Franco Mastantuono, and this will be Messi's 6th World Cup as Argentina defends its title.
U.S. President Donald Trump has said that U.S. holds all the cards in talks with Iran.
And speaking during an interview with Fox News, Trump warned that military action remains an option if talks fail to produce a favorable outcome. Listen to this.
Is there a line that they would cross for you to go on the offensive again militarily?
Well, a deal that wasn't going to be good for us is the line, ultimately, because, I'm playing it out and we're going to see. And that's what I do. I negotiate. They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards because we've defeated them militarily.
Trump's comments come amid reports that the two sides have closed in on a framework for ceasefire extension, but Trump is yet to give his approval to the agreement.
Well, reports say that the two sides have reached an agreement to extend the ceasefire by 60 days. However, Iranian media reports have denied reaching any agreement, saying no memorandum of understanding has been finalized as of yet.
Separately, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has said that in terms of finalizing the deal with Iran, the U.S. is not there yet, but they're very close.
If you look at what we've already accomplished here, assuming that we're able to get to a final agreement here, we're reopening the Straits of Hormuz. We've already decimated their conventional military, and we're in a position where we could substantially set back their nuclear program, not just during the term of this president, but over the long term. That's a very, very good thing for the American people. So we're not there yet, but we're very close, and we're going to keep on working at it.
Furthermore, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has revealed that negotiating terms are going back and forth over a potential Iran deal. Speaking to reporters in Washington, Bessent predicted that oil and gas prices could come down very quickly after the war ends.
The Treasury Secretary also said that he has received an assurance from Oman that it has no plan to toll the Strait of Hormuz. Bessent's comments follow Trump's warning that the U.S. would blow up Oman if it entered into any agreement with Iran to charge tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. Listen to this.
Again, I think the president wanted to punctuate freedom of navigation in the strait. I had a call with the Omani ambassador this morning, and he assured me that there were no plans for tolling the strait. As he said, our countries have had 200 years of good relations. He wants to have another 200 more.
However, Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Qasem Garibabadi has said that Iran will not sign any agreement that does not align with its interests. Further, he has warned that Tehran will respond to any violation of the ceasefire by the United States.
About what the actions of Americans and what they are saying. What matters to us are the official messages we receive, and naturally, Iran will not accept anything that is not in line with our interests and those of our country. And this is the reason it is taking a few days to make sure everything is in line with our interests.
Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader Moshtaba Khamenei has accused the U.S. trying to create division and social fragmentation to compensate for its failures. Moshtaba Khamenei's statement was read by a TV presenter on Iranian state television.
Even as hectic diplomacy continues in the background, the situation on the ground remains intense. In the latest, Iranian state television claimed that it destroyed a U.S. aircraft near Jam in Bushehr province, but U.S. military has denied the report, with Central Command saying that no U.S. aircraft has been shot down and all U.S. air assets are fully accounted for.
And amid all these developments, Pakistan Foreign Minister Akhtar will reach Washington today, where he is slated to meet U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And this visit comes as Islamabad is attempting to negotiate a peace pact to permanently end the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. And to discuss more, we are now being joined by Dr. Alan Burstein from Boston. He is a professor of political science and a Israel Institute fellow at Tufts University. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Appreciate you taking your time. Let's begin right in. Every other day we see both sides nearing good talks, and then until it is not a good talk. And then according to you, are we watching another temporary ceasefire cycle, or is this now a region fundamentally entering a long-term U.S.-Israel-Iran confrontation era?
Thank you for having me. What we're talking about right now, even according to the most optimistic visions of the both sides, is in fact just a 60-day, not even agreement. It's a memorandum of understanding in order to negotiate an agreement. So we're really nowhere near looking at something like a new era of at least a lack of confrontation between the sides. All this does is push things a little bit forward. It will allow for the opening of the Straits of Hormuz. Mostly what it will allow will be for Trump to go back to his base, the United States, and say, look, I've opened the Straits of Hormuz and the economy is doing better. And for Iran to come back and say, look, we forced the United States to withdraw and we got some of the assets that we have frozen coming back to us. We will be negotiating then for another 2 months. And only then will we know if we're heading towards another round of escalation or towards de-escalation. At this point, this is just postponing the current situation.
Of course, Dr. Bernstein, what we're seeing is diplomacy and, of course, the military threats are planning out in, simultaneously. But now, of course, the point of contention, it remains the same, which is the nuclear issue and opening of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what we want to understand is that what is impeding this peace deal? Is it perhaps, Trump's ever-shifting posture, where he's oscillating between, conciliation and coercion, which is perhaps impeding this peace deal? And the unpredictability is, of course, warning Iran to take a step back and lead with caution in this situation.
So right now, both sides have really climbed very high up on their horses or high up in their trees, and they haven't been willing to climb back down. What Trump has demanded is a complete opening of the Straits of Hormuz and no tolls and no anything that will come about with that, and also some sort of agreement that will lead to an end of Iran's nuclear program. Trump has given up on things like the missile program and the proxies, they're no longer mentioned. Iran has demanded that the United States withdraw its forces from the Persian Gulf, as well as the immediate unfreezing of at least half of their assets, and that is about $12 billion. Both sides said the other one needs to go first. The United States has to first unfreeze our assets, and then we can talk about the nuclear program that Iran has said. The United States has said first we have to come to an agreement on the nuclear program, then we can unfreeze the assets. So that's really where we're stuck. Both sides right now are just saying we have agreed on what we should do, but the other one needs to take the first step. Both leaders right now, by the way, have not answered yet. Trump has said he's taking a few days to think about it. In Iran, it's reported that Mujtaba Khamenei, the supreme leader, himself has not given his blessing to this yet. This was agreed upon by the negotiators. Steve Witkoff and Abbas Araghchi and Mohammad Ghalibaf are the ones that agreed. But the leaders have not agreed yet, and each one is waiting to see how the other one maybe will take the first step so they can go back and say, look, I defeated them, I made them to take the first step. That's where we're stuck right now.
And while this all goes on, we have Trump, of course, warning that U.S. would blow up Oman if it entered any agreement with Tehran. Now, these warnings coming at a time when Oman has been one of the party that has been part of these negotiations. How do you see Trump's reaction, and how do you predict the Gulf states and Oman reacting to these comments coming from Trump?
I think that the Gulf states primarily are going to try to look at this as one of those things that Trump says that maybe he didn't mean. I think that they really would like that to not be a credible threat, because everyone knows that Trump is really emotional and very reactionary, and he very, very quickly can escalate a situation. We saw this with his meeting with Zelensky in Ukraine, and that's why all of the leaders want to be on his good side. We see this with Netanyahu, the leaders of Qatar, Saudi Arabia. They're always trying to make sure Trump likes them. And the fact that he could say something like this about Oman, not only a close U.S. ally, but also one of the main negotiators, they were the negotiator of the nuclear talks between the sides, really is something that the Gulf countries would like to just say, let's just pretend that didn't happen, because that's a dangerous escalation. Why did Trump say that himself? There's been a lot of different rumors. Some have attributed it to a tactic showing I'm willing to blow up the Middle East, don't mess with me. Others are attributing it to a complete mistake, that Trump meant to say that he would blow up Iran and said Oman. I've seen credible reports saying both things, and I think everyone, including Trump, would like to just pretend that that didn't happen because it's a complication of his relationship with Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. I think they're all wishing that he had not said that at this point.
All right. Well, of course, it looks like, of course, we have to wait for the agreement to even happen, because we haven't seen an agreement, and Iran saying that we haven't agreed for any kind of ceasefire. We'll have to wait and see what that happens, and of course, to go forward to see how talks happen. Of course, thank you so much for coming on our show and giving your opinions. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
And Israel has widened its military offensive in Lebanon with deadly airstrikes in Beirut and across the country's south.
And now, of course, smoke has billowed over Beirut's southern suburbs after an Israeli airstrike hit an apartment building in Choifat near Lebanon's international airport. Now, the strike marked the first attack near the Lebanese capital in weeks. The Israeli military confirmed carrying out what it called a precise strike.
According to reports, the strike targeted Ali al-Husseini, described as the head of the missile division within the Imam Hussein division. A militia allied with Hezbollah and backed by Iran. And Lebanese officials say that the strike was carried out using two precision-guided missiles targeting a building in Beirut's southern suburbs.
Lebanon's health ministry says civilians were among those killed in the strike. Officials say a woman, her infant daughter, and a Syrian child died in the attack, while at least 15 others were wounded, including women and children. These strikes denote a widening of Israel's offensive beyond southern battle zones.
We were sitting while the children were playing football. Suddenly, we were shocked by the whistle of a missile that struck this building. There were injuries and damage. This is a quiet residential area, and no one expected something like this to happen. Israel no longer seems to have any targets left, except civilians.
Israeli warplanes also carried out heavy bombardments in southern Lebanon. Airstrikes pounded the coastal city of Tyre, Nabatieh, and nearby towns.
Lebanese authorities say at least 14 people were killed across the south, including 5 women and children and 1 Lebanese soldier. Dozens more were injured as rescue crews searched damaged buildings and civilians fled targeted neighborhoods.
Now, Israel has repeatedly issued evacuation warnings for large areas of southern Lebanon in recent days, and particularly around Tyre. The Israeli military has declared all territory south of Lebanon's Zahrani River a combat zone, urging residents to move north as strikes against Hezbollah intensify. According to Israeli military spokesman, Brigadier General Efi Defrin, the air force is operating continuously, conducting strikes throughout Lebanon and across multiple arenas.
The Air Force is operating non-stop in all arenas, striking throughout Lebanon. Just in the last 24 hours, we struck in Tyre, Beirut, and southern Lebanon with intensive assistance to the maneuvering forces. We are not stopping for a moment. Our forces are maneuvering even at these moments and continue to deepen the damage through surprising and bold operations.
The United Nations says that the level of military activity is now the highest seen since the truce began.
We are, of course, deeply concerned by the escalation of hostilities in that country. We're also very concerned by the Israeli strikes today in southern Beirut. We again urge all to respect the cessation of hostilities and stop any further attacks. We reiterate that civilians and civilian infrastructure must never be targeted.
And shifting our focus, Washington's decision to send 5,000 additional troops to Poland is triggering fresh alarm in Moscow.
And this with Russia warning that Europe may be edging towards a dangerous new phase of confrontation. Well, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova says that the deployment risks a qualitative escalation in tensions between Russia and the West.
Now, she has warned Moscow will be forced to respond with retaliatory measures if NATO's military footprint continues to expand closer to Russian borders. Listen to this.
This would not only inevitably necessitate the forced adoption of military technical measures necessary to ensure the security of the Russian Federation, but would also result in a significant escalation of tensions throughout Europe, especially given the increasingly provocative stance of the United States' European satellites toward the Russian Federation.
Well, the announcement comes directly from U.S. President Donald Trump, who says that his close ties with Poland's newly elected conservative nationalist president, Karol Nawrocki, influenced the move.
Now, posting on Truth Social, Trump presents the deployment as a sign of Washington's commitment to Poland's security at a time of rising uncertainty across Europe.
Well, the decision surprises many observers because the White House has spent months reviewing America's true presence in Europe, with expectations growing that Washington could reduce its military role and pressure NATO allies to shoulder more of the continent's defense burden.
EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas has warned member states against falling into a Russian trap in future negotiations on Ukraine as the bloc's foreign ministers meet in Cyprus.
One thing is very clear. Europe will never be a neutral mediator between Russia and Ukraine because we are on Ukraine's side and we are defending our own core security interests.
Now, reacting to this, Russia's presidential envoy on foreign investment and economic cooperation, Kirill Dmitriev, has slammed EU top diplomat, calling her a low IQ, irresponsible warmonger. He stated that the EU top diplomat is nudging the world towards World War III.
Well, on the other hand, Germany and the Netherlands will set up a joint tactical headquarters in the Baltics this year to command forces on NATO's eastern flank and help deter Russia. German Defense Ministry says the joint German-Dutch command center, known as the WION GNC, will assume command role in NATO's eastern flank, specifically in Estonia and Latvia. WION GNC is a command center that can control up to 50,000 troops if needed.
Earlier, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said that the troop deployment to Poland has been delayed, fueling speculation over divisions inside the administration about America's future military commitments overseas.
Now, with thousands of additional U.S. troops heading eastwards, fears of a deeper standoff between NATO and Russia are intensifying once again.
For Poland, the move is seen as a critical security guarantee. For Moscow, it is another sign that the West is tightening military pressure on Russia's doorstep, a development that Kremlin insists it cannot ignore. All right, and moving on, a massive fire and possible explosion have devastated a two-story apartment building in Dallas, Texas.
And it has left possible casualties and injuring at least 4 people. And fire officials are saying that rescue operations have now shifted to recovery efforts as the crews continue searching through the rubble for missing victims.
Thick black smoke filled the Dallas skyline as firefighters battled a huge blaze that tore through an apartment complex on the outskirts of the downtown Dallas. Officials say that crews were initially responding to reports of a gas leak when an explosion occurred, triggering a massive fire.
There have been some individuals that have been accounted for. We're working on getting a concise number for you. This is an active incident still. It's still under investigation. There are still phone calls that haven't been answered, and therefore it's still ongoing in terms of getting a total account for the number of people that live at this residence.
Dozens of firefighters rushed to the scene using ladders and hoses to contain the flames while others searched through the smoldering debris for trapped residents. Parts of the building collapsed, leaving behind piles of charred rubble and twisted wreckage.
It is now. Yeah. I mean, I've just been in shock because I don't know. I literally don't know what to do with myself. I obviously have family that I can go stay at, but some of these people, other people didn't.
Dallas fire rescue officials confirmed that there have been fatalities, while at least 4 people were taken to the hospital with injuries. Authorities say that the fire is now contained, but search and recovery operations remain underway as investigators work to determine the exact cause of the blaze.
All right, it's now time for a very quick short break on World Daily. Let's end up on the other side. We leave you with some images that have been drawing attention from across the world. Do stay tuned.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
WION asks what matters. The question the world wanted answered.
They're having a lot of racist comments coming from the United States against Indian Americans. So this would against the basic advice of India-US relationship. What's your take on that?
Look, I'm sure that there are people that have made comments online and other places because every country in the world has stupid people. I'm sure there are stupid people here. There are stupid people in the United States that make dumb comments.
One question, one exchange, global reactions. When WION asks, the world follows. Get the WION edge.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
breaking news.
And raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Vielleicht nur auf dem Postland.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar, and my colleague Shabisla. Let's begin with the headlines quickly.
A rocket built by Blue Origin, owned by Jeff Bezos, exploded during hot fire tests on a launch pad in Florida ahead of a planned launch. Company says an anomaly occurred during testing, but confirms all personnel are safe and accounted for.
U.S. and Iranian negotiators reportedly reached an agreement to extend ceasefire for 60 days and begin talks on Iran's nuclear program, pending approval from Donald Trump, while Iranian media reports that text has not been confirmed yet.
They negotiate. They're very good negotiators. They're crafty. But in the end, we have all the cards because we've defeated them militarily.
Donald Trump says U.S. holds strong leverage in negotiations with Iran. In a Fox News interview, the U.S. president added that his administration is ready to escalate if diplomacy does not produce results.
Crews are rescuing riders stranded on Iron Shark roller coaster in the United States, Texas, after its stop operation. 7 people are reportedly stuck on the ride as emergency crews use a crane to safely remove them from the train car.
Russian drone enters Romanian airspace and strikes an apartment building near the city of Galați, causing a fire. Defense Ministry says drone crossed from nearby attacks on Ukraine and crashed on the building's roof. 2 people are injured.
The UN adds Israeli and Russian security forces to its blacklist of parties credibly accused of sexual violence in conflict. Annual list covers groups in multiple conflict zones and follows prior warnings from UN chief about possible inclusion.
WHO chief says Ebola outbreak in the DRC can be stopped as he lands in Kinshasa. Also says that UN Health Agency does not support travel bans, arguing they are not effective in controlling the outbreak.
Asian markets traded mostly higher on Friday as investors weighed rising Iran tensions against hopes for a temporary Iran-US deal. Japan and South Korea led gains. Overnight, Wall Street closed at fresh record highs, with tech and AI stocks leading gains.
Lionel Messi will captain Argentina national football team at World Cup. Coach Lionel Scaloni announces while naming a 26-man squad. That excludes Franco Mastantuono, and this will be Messi's 6th World Cup as Argentina defends its title. Well, Japan and the Philippines have launched discussions on a military intelligence sharing pact during Philippine President's visit to Tokyo.
And this is a move widely seen as part of efforts to counter China's growing military assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific region. Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi made the announcement during a press conference after holding talks with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos. She also said that Japan and the Philippines are strengthening ties as like-minded nations, and it will continue even in the changing international environment.
In today's meeting, first, in the field of security, we reached an agreement to commence official negotiations on a general security of military information agreement. Furthermore, we agreed to accelerate exchanges between our defense authorities toward the transfer of Abukuma-class destroyer escorts and other equipment.
Philippine President Marcos said that they have agreed to elevate their bilateral relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. And they also held talks about the challenges that are now emerging in the Indo-Pacific region.
We had meaningful exchanges on regional and global issues, including challenges that are now emerging in the Indo-Pacific region, and of course the developments in the Middle East and their impact on energy security.
Japan and China remain locked in territorial and economic disputes in the East China Sea, where Coast Guard vessels from both sides regularly engage in tense and potentially hazardous encounters.
In the South China Sea, Beijing has deployed naval and coast guard assets in an effort to restrict Philippine access to strategically important reefs and islands, resulting in repeated confrontations. While Tokyo and Manila have also concluded a reciprocal access agreement permitting the deployment of troops on each other's territory.
South Korea has put its military might on full display near the border with North Korea.
From AI-powered combat systems to suicide drones and robot units, Seoul showcased its latest battlefield technology during a massive live-fire military exercise in Pocheon. Take a look.
The joint live fire exercise, held today, is not simply a drill or a one-off event. It is an occasion to reaffirm our firm resolve to defend the peace and security of the Republic of Korea on our own against any threat, and to promise the people a strong security posture and solid readiness.
And a fire in a girls' school dormitory in Kenya has killed at least 16 people.
And police say most of the victims were children and over 70 have been hospitalized with injuries. The fire broke out overnight in Utumishi Girls Academy, the accommodation block of boarding school in Nakuru County in Gilgil. The cause of the fire has not been established yet. Teams from the Kenya Red Cross, Fire Brigade, police and ambulance services rushed to the site of the accident. Search teams have also been deployed to locate survivors and recover victims.
Now, Kenya's Interior Minister has vowed action against anyone found responsible for a deadly dormitory fire at a girls' school in the Rift Valley. The minister made the remarks while visiting Utumishi Girls Academy Senior School in Gilgil, where the fire broke out earlier.
We will also do everything to ensure that if there is anyone who was involved in causing this fire, that justice will be done so that your colleagues... that justice is done so that your colleagues who lost their lives and those who got injured may not be in vain. Even though we may never change the situation, we must be able to ensure that such a situation again should not happen on the part of those who caused culpability.
Now, parents gathered at the Kenyan school to look for their children. School fires are not uncommon in Kenyan boarding schools. Some are caused by arson, while others because of electrical faults.
Now, officials at the hospital treating the victims have revealed that most students sustained fractures and suspected spinal injuries after jumping from height to escape. They said that 7 students were admitted for stabilization before being referred to Nairobi for specialized care.
We received those students at 3 a.m. and most of the injuries which were sustained were due to jumping from a height. We had cases of students where they sustained pelvic fractures. We also had students with suspicion of spinal injury, and especially those students who have already been airlifted to Nairobi for MRI and specialized services.
Kenya's deadliest school fire in recent history occurred in 2001 when 67 students died in a dormitory fire in Machakos County. In 2017, 10 students died in a school fire in Nairobi, with a student later charged with murder. In 2024, 21 students were burned to death in a school fire in central Kenya, prompting President William Ruto to declare 3 days of national mourning. And news from India, Karnataka's Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar, who is widely seen as the front-runner to succeed outgoing Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, has left for New Delhi to meet Congress High Command.
Well, earlier, after formally resigning as the state's Chief Minister, Siddaramaiah too had left for Delhi. The meeting with the Congress top brass is likely to feature discussions on the selection of the new Congress Legislature Party leader, composition of the new cabinet and the Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee.
On Thursday, during a breakfast meeting with the state cabinet, Siddaramaiah had announced his resignation as the state's chief minister. Later, the outgoing CM addressed a press conference in which he said that the legislature party and the Congress High Command will decide the next chief minister of the state.
In a social media post, Siddaramaiah also assured that he will continue to be active in state politics and fight for social justice.
And according to reports, the Congress leadership is exploring multiple options to placate Siddaramaiah, one proposal reportedly involving appointing him as Karnataka Congress president while inducting his son, Yatindra, into the state cabinet. Another option under discussion was moving Siddaramaiah to national politics through a Rajya Sabha berth and later positioning him as the leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha. However, Siddaramaiah has expressed his wish to stay in the state politics. Well, all eyes are now on the meeting in Delhi, where the political future of both Siddaramaiah and D.K. Shivakumar will be decided.
And the U.S. Customs Commissioner is being ordered to appear in court over a massive tariff refund dispute that could involve about $166 billion in repayments to importers.
A federal trade judge wants answers on why the refund process is taking time and whether the government is moving fast enough to return the money after tariffs were struck down by the Supreme Court. At the center of this case is the U.S. Court of International Trade, where Judge Richard Eaton is overseeing how billions in tariffs later ruled unlawful should be refunded.
The judge has now ordered Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Rodney Scott to appear in person on June 9th, demanding a clear explanation on when businesses will actually get their money back.
Well, customs officials say they have already processed or are processing over $35 billion in refunds, covering more than 8 million import entries. But the total exposure could reach $166 billion, according to court filings. Now, the refunds stem from tariffs imposed under emergency powers that the Supreme Court later ruled invalid. And now the legal fight has shifted from are refunds owed to how fast must they be paid.
Customs has said that the system is handling massive scale, over 15 million import entries reviewed so far, and that some repayments are already reaching businesses. However, delays remain for firms missing bank or entry details, with billions still in limbo, and a judge demanding answers in court next month. The pressure is now on Customs to prove that it can deliver one of the largest refund operations in U.S. trade history, on time and at scale.
And well, to bring us more details on this, our correspondent Susan Tarani sent us a report from New York. Let's listen in.
The head of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection is being ordered to testify in court over delays in refunding billions of dollars in tariffs ruled illegal by the U.S. Supreme Court. The dispute centers on sweeping tariffs imposed by President Trump under the emergency powers laws. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court ruled that the president overstepped his authority, opening the door for importers to reclaim an estimated $166 billion in tariff payments. A federal trade judge now wants customs officials to explain why the refund process is moving slowly and when companies can expect their money back. So far, the government says that about $20 billion has already been returned, with tens of billions more still pending. The case is now becoming a major test of presidential trade powers and could reshape how future U.S. tariffs are imposed. The hearing is expected to take place here in New York on June 9th. Susan Tarani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, Chinese online retail platform Temu has been fined $232 million by European Union regulators.
And this after officials said that the company failed to do enough to prevent the sale of illegal products on its platform. The penalty is part of a wider European Union investigation under the Digital Services Act, which requires large online platforms to better tackle illegal and harmful content.
Now, EU regulators say that the investigation followed complaints from the Pan-European Consumer Organization, BEUC, and several of its national member groups. The European Commission said Temu failed to properly identify, analyze, and assess the risks linked to illegal products sold through its platform. Now, officials also said the company did not adequately evaluate how its recommendation systems and product promotion programs using online influencers could increase the sale of illegal goods to consumers in the European Union.
The investigation is part of the European Union's Digital Services Act. It's a major law that forces large technology platforms to do more to remove illegal content, reduce risk to users, and improve transparency around their online systems.
Now, regulators said further penalties against Temu could follow in the coming months as a broader investigation continues. Temu said it respects the goals of the Digital Services Act but disagrees with the European Commission's decision. EU officials have given Temu until August 28th to submit an action plan detailing how it will address the regulators' concerns. The European Commission said it will review the plan before deciding in the coming months whether the company has done enough to comply with the law.
All right, and now shifting our focus to the world of sports, the sky-high ticket prices at the 2026 FIFA World Cup are also now the subject of a legal investigation.
And the Attorneys General of New York and New Jersey have launched a probe into FIFA's ticketing practices for the World Cup. The investigation was announced on Wednesday by New York's Attorney General Letitia James and New Jersey Attorney General Jennifer Davenport, and they say they are issuing a subpoena to FIFA over its pricing practices for matches specifically at New Jersey's MetLife Stadium, where the final will also be held.
Well, the main issue centers around fans who say that they were misled about the location of the seats and on claims that FIFA's own public messaging service for tickets has contributed to the inflated prices seen throughout the tournament, according to a press release by Attorney General Letitia James.
New Yorkers have been waiting years for the World Cup to come into their backyard, and they deserve a fair shot at affordable tickets. No one should be manipulated into paying sky-high prices for seats, and fans should be able to trust the tickets they purchase will be the ones they receive. This is what Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, had said.
Now, as of now, the Attorney Generals are merely asking FIFA for information and not charging World Football's governing body. FIFA is yet to comment on the matter.
Now, FIFA has faced widespread criticism for the dynamic pricing model it has used for the World Cup. And most tickets at the World Cup cost over $1,000, something U.S. President Donald Trump said himself won't pay. But Trump still defended the ticket prices and claimed that it's the most successful edition of the World Cup in terms of the ticket sales.
No, the World Cup is great. It's the most successful they've ever had. Ticket-wise, they've never had anything that sold so quickly. It's amazing because it's the United States. You don't think of I call it soccer. You know, it's just easier to do because we have football and they have two footballs, right? They call it football. But most people never thought they'd see anything like that. The World Cup, it's turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening than they've ever had. Yeah, please.
Now, American filmmaker Steven Spielberg has spoken out about the growing use of artificial intelligence in Hollywood,
saying that technology should never replace human creativity in filmmaking. During a recent appearance on a podcast, the Oscar-winning filmmaker shared his concerns about AI entering the creative side of movies. He said that he does not want AI taking the place of writers or creative voices in Hollywood.
Spielberg added that he believes there is no substitute for human emotion, soul, and imagination in storytelling. The 79-year-old director explained that AI can still be useful behind the scenes. Spielberg said it can help filmmakers save time on technical tasks like location scouting and production planning, but he made it clear that AI should only remain a tool and not make creative decisions like writing dialogue, planning shots, or designing sets.
Spielberg also warned against letting technology become the final word in filmmaking. According to him, movies need human feeling and personal vision to connect with audiences, and he stressed that creativity should always stay in the hands of filmmakers and artists.
Spielberg is one of the few major Hollywood names openly speaking about AI in cinema. Earlier, actor Leonardo DiCaprio had also shared similar views, saying AI-generated content may be impressive, but it lacks humanity and emotional depth. He added that real art must come from people, not machines.
As AI continues to grow in the entertainment industry, Spielberg's comments have once again sparked debate over where technology should stop and human creativity should begin. Now, as we look back on World Menstrual Hygiene Day, we bring you more about wearable watches that let you know about your menstrual health.
A new study sheds light on how wearable technology like Oura Ring, Apple Watch, Fitbit, Whoop Band, and Garmin watches are capable of detecting meaningful physiological changes across the menstrual cycle. The review published in NPJ Women's Health analyzed data from wearable devices that monitor things like skin, temperature, heart rate, breathing patterns, and heart rate variability.
Now, the study found that up to 90% of women report cycle-related symptoms, including pain, bloating, and mood swings. While up to 40% suffer from premenstrual syndrome, scientists found that these psychological signals, they shift throughout the menstrual cycle. For example, body temperature and resting heart rate, they often rise after ovulation, while changes in sleep and stress patterns may appear during PMS or perimenopause. Skin temperature was found to be lower in the first half of the cycle before ovulation, and higher afterwards. Resting heart rate rose by around 2 to 4 beats per minute from the pre-ovulation phase to the days after it. Heart rate variability, which is a marker of nervous system activity, was highest in the early cycle and lowest in premenstrual phase, with lower readings linked to symptoms of PMS and premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Now, what makes this significant is that wearables collect continuous, real-time data, potentially allowing users to spot hormonal changes earlier and more accurately than manual methods.
Experts say that this technology could eventually support fertility awareness, help monitor menstrual irregularities, and improve understanding of conditions such as premenstrual dysphoric disorder and perimenopause. But researchers are also urging caution.
Well, most consumer wearables are not approved by medical diagnostic tools, and accuracy can vary widely between brands and devices. The study also highlights concerns that many health algorithms were originally designed using limited or male-focused data sets, which may affect how they interpret hormonal changes in women. However, researchers believe that the findings mark an important step towards more personalized and data-driven women's health care. Well, Muslims across the globe are observing Eid al-Adha, also known as the Festival of Sacrifice.
It coincides with the last day of the annual Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia. Now, we bring you visuals from across the world as worshippers commemorate the festival with prayers. We'll leave you with this report, but don't go anywhere. More news and updates will follow on the other side. You're watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Ask a man how he feels and you'll never get a clue. Ask him to be a dandy and kickstart an engine and he'll ride across the world. A suit and a motorcycle, the oldest